Imagine being alone in a morgue at midnight, staring at the body of a pregnant woman. But things take a terrifying turn when you realize something unnatural has happened. The room was cold and eerily silent, broken only by the sound of my medical tools. I was alone with the body, or at least, I thought I was. A chill ran through me as I discovered strange symbols carved into her ribs. How could this be possible? Just a few hours earlier, I was urgently called in to perform an autopsy on the body of a pregnant woman. I was told time was of the essence, her condition deteriorating rapidly. But she wasn't just any patient. I knew her. I had seen her before, full of life and joy, talking excitedly about her baby on the way. Picture this. A woman in her final weeks of pregnancy, found dead in her bathtub. Her skin damaged by days in the water, mysterious markings on her wrists and neck. Everyone insisted it was suicide, but something in me couldn't believe that. Why would she take her life just before becoming a mother? I began the examination. The signs of drowning were evident, but something felt off. As I made the first incision, my hands froze. Simple, small, intricate carvings covered her ribs. There was no earthly way they could have been made after her death. The air felt heavier, as if I couldn't breathe. Then came the most horrifying discovery. When I opened the amniotic sac, it was empty. No baby. There was no evidence she had delivered before her death. Everything pointed to a healthy pregnancy, yet the baby was simply gone. She had been a vibrant woman, always smiling, though sometimes distracted by her cryptic remarks about great things coming. And me? I was just a doctor, grounded in science. But that night, I was forced to confront the unexplainable. I returned home, burdened by an indescribable heaviness. I couldn't sleep. Early in the morning, as I stared at the fogged-up window, something froze my blood. A fresh child's handprint. On the inside of the glass. What would you have done in my place? Do you think T here is a logical explanation for all this? Or was I staring into the void of something beyond comprehension? Death doesn't tell all secrets, but it leaves haunting clues, whispering truths we may never fully understand. Imagine receiving a message from someone you lost years ago. Not through a call, not a letter, but from an online forum. That's exactly what happened to me, and it changed everything I thought I knew about life, death, and the spaces in between. Sometimes, the missing don't know they're gone, but they still try to find their way back. It all started with a chilling reply to a post. A user named Echoing Void wrote, "Sometimes the missing don't know they're gone. Sometimes they're here, looking for home." When asked how they could know this, the response sent shivers down my spine. Because I am one. That one sentence pulled me into a rabbit hole I couldn't escape. Picture this. Ryan, my brother, vanished 2 years ago. He stepped out one morning to grab coffee and never came back. No signs of foul play, no clues, just gone. My family unraveled. My parents were mere shadows of themselves, and I stopped feeling altogether. Late one sleepless night, I found myself scrolling through obscure forums for unsolved disappearances. That's when I stumbled upon a thread titled Messages from Beyond, Connecting with the Lost. It sounded absurd until I saw Void's cryptic comment. Desperation or exhaustion? I am still not sure which drove me to message Void. If you are one of the missing, prove it. The reply came fast, too fast. What do you want me to prove? That you broke Ryan's nose during a stupid fight over Mario Kart? That he forgave you long before you forgave yourself? My breath caught. No one knew about that. Not my parents. Not my friends, just Ryan and me. Void claimed to be in a fractured version of our world. A silent, gray place where the streets were empty and the air felt suffocating. He remembered every detail of our lives, the good, the bad, and the deeply personal. But then, things took a darker turn. Void confessed, "They're watching me now. They don't like that I am talking to you." I begged him to explain, but his answers became cryptic. "The shadows. The ones who keep us here. They don't like noise." And then he vanished. Weeks later, a chilling message appeared in my inbox. "Do you want to see me?" Attached was a link to a live feed. The video showed a distorted version of our old neighborhood. The houses shimmered like heat waves, and in the distance, a figure approached. It was Ryan, or at least, it looked like him. His movements were stiff, unnatural, and his smile. It wasn't right. In the chat, he typed, "It's me. I told you I was here." Then the shadows appeared, jagged forms that stretched toward him. Ryan's final message burned itself into my mind. "They're coming. You have to help me. Find the door." I pieced together the clues Ryan had shared about this other world. It all led me to an abandoned cabin from our childhood. Beneath a threadbare rug, I found a trapdoor leading to a tunnel, and at its end, a massive iron door etched with strange carvings. As I touched the door, my phone buzzed. Another message. "They know you are here. Don't let them in." The walls began to ooze with shadows, crawling toward me. I shoved the door open and stepped through. Into a gray, desolate world. Ryan stood there, wide-eyed and desperate. "Ryan," I whispered. But before he could respond, the shadows surged forward. His scream echoed as darkness consumed us. I woke up in my bed, clutching a piece of paper I didn't recognize. Written in Ryan's handwriting were 5 haunting words. "Don't stop looking. Another door." What would you do if it were your brother? Would you risk everything to find the next door? Or would you leave the mystery locked away, where it can't follow you back? Sometimes, the missing don't know they're gone. But maybe, just maybe, they still want to come home. Do you know the worst secret that can come back to haunt you? As I stepped out of the office, my phone buzzed. A mysterious message from an unknown number read, "Hi Connor, do you remember what day it is today?" An unknown number, yet it knew my name. Strange. I replied, "Who is this?" "It's Jane. Don't you remember me?" The name alone froze the blood in my veins. Could it really be that Jane? Impossible. She died years ago. I tried ignoring it. But another message came through. "That's rude of you. Don't you remember promising to leave your wife for me?" My hands trembled as I typed back angrily. "Who are you? What do you want?" Then came the threat. "If you don't tell me what today is, I'll knock on your door and have a little chat with your wife." I imagined the scene. My heart pounded. I couldn't believe this was happening. What day is it? I thought of Jane, the forbidden relationship, the first meeting at that professional event, her shy, captivating laugh. I was the ambitious man indulging in everything forbidden, but it all ended in disaster. My decision to return to my wife, the money I gave her, and then hearing about her death during a medical procedure. Could today be the anniversary of her death? I typed the reply, "The day you died." Seconds later, a response arrived. "Close, but that's not the full answer. Hurry before I reach the door." I reached home, ran to the door, shouting for my wife. I found her in the kitchen, safe. I hugged her tightly, but before I could explain, another message arrived. "Today is also your son's birthday, the child I died giving birth to." The doorbell rang. My wife asked anxiously, "Who's at the door?" I stopped her quickly. "I'll handle it." I opened the door. Standing there was a young man, tall and thin, with dark hair brushing his neck, just as mine did when I was his age. His eyes carried a cold, piercing look, and his hand rose, pointing a gun directly at my head. In that moment, I realized the past is never truly buried. Would this be the moment my life ends, or would I pay for my sins in another way? What would you do if a door suddenly appeared in your house, a door that wasn't there before? Would you open it, or would you walk away? For me and my wife, Ilara, opening that door turned our lives into a waking nightmare. It all started when we moved into what felt like our dream home. Far from our overbearing families and suffocating past, the house was meant to be our fresh start. It was perfect. Until that night with the Whitakers, our elderly neighbors. Our neighbors, the Whitakers, were kind enough to invite us over for dinner soon after we moved in. Over wine and friendly conversation, Mr. Whitaker shared an unsettling story. Roger, he was the owner before the couple you bought from vanished without a trace. Car still in the driveway, house untouched. Poof. Gone. His words hung in the air, heavy and foreboding. Mrs. Whitaker tried to downplay it, brushing it off as one of those things that happen. But the unease stuck with us. We laughed nervously, brushing it off as small-town gossip. But even as we thanked the Whitakers and left, the story stayed with me. Months passed, and we fell into a routine, loving the peace and quiet of our new life. Then, one evening, while rummaging in the bedroom closet, I froze. There it was, a small pale blue door hidden behind our jackets. Its paint was cracked, and it looked ancient, as though it had been there for decades. But it hadn't. I knew it hadn't. "Ilara!" I shouted. "Come here." She joined me, her expression turning from curiosity to unease. "Finn, that wasn't here before." I opened it, my hands trembling. Inside was a dimly lit, empty room, bare walls, and a single light bulb dangling from the ceiling. "It's just extra storage," I muttered, though my voice lacked conviction. Ilara wasn't convinced either. But we left it alone. For a week, the door stayed there, a strange anomaly in our otherwise normal house. Then, it disappeared. A few days later, I found it again, this time in the hallway. When I opened it, it wasn't the same empty room. It was a small study, filled with dusty bookshelves and a spiral staircase leading upward. Ilara and I were avid readers, and the sight of those books was irresistible. We stepped inside, curiosity overriding our fear. But as we flipped through the pages, the stories we thought we knew were wrong. The Return of the King ended with Sauron reclaiming the ring. Alice never escaped Wonderland. Each book told a twisted, darker version of its original tale. "This isn't possible," Ilara whispered. But it was. And the door wasn't done with us. The door moved again and again, leading us to new and terrifying Placiza mirror-lined hallway where our reflections didn't match our movements, and an observatory revealing alien skies filled with shattered planets and dark stars. One night, the door appeared in our bathroom. When we opened it, we found ourselves in an endless void. The ground rippled like liquid glass beneath our feet, and shadows moved in the distance. Then, we heard it. A wet, dragging sound echoed from the darkness. Something was coming. "Run!" I shouted, grabbing Ilara's hand. We sprinted, the sound of splashing and dragging growing louder behind us. When we finally reached the door, it wouldn't close. Something on the other side was pushing back. A clawed hand reached through, slashing my shoulder. Blood soaked my shirt as Ilara and I shoved the door with everything we had. Finally, with a deafening slam, it shut. We left the house the next day, selling it to a young family desperate for a home. As we packed, the door appeared less and less, as if it knew we were leaving, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching us go. Years later, I looked up the house online. The new owners, a smiling couple with 2 kids, seemed happy. But I wonder, how long until they find the door? If you ever stumble upon a door that shouldn't be there, remember this. Some doors are not meant to be opened. Will you resist the urge, or will curiosity get the better of you? What's behind the door might just be waiting for you. Have you ever thought that death might not be the end, but the beginning of something worse? This is not a tale of fiction. It's what happened to me personally. Today, I'll share with you a moment that changed my life forever. Life isn't always a gift. Sometimes it's a curse. When I was 19, I almost lost my life in a horrific car accident. Imagine this: the sound of metal crushing, the smell of blood, and the searing pain coursing through my body as I lay trapped under the wreckage. Air was leaving my lungs, and darkness crept closer. Then, I heard a voice. "Do you want to live?" The voice was deep, resonating as if it came from within me. There was no one around, just me and that haunting question. The voice repeated itself, clearer and more urgent this time. "Do you want to live?" With a trembling breath, I barely managed to whisper, "Yes." Suddenly, the pain stopped. The sirens, the screams, everything faded into silence. Then, the voice returned, calm yet commanding. "You'll live, but you'll never escape me." I woke up in the hospital. No wounds, no broken bones, as if nothing had happened. The doctors called it a miracle, but deep down, I knew better. There was something dark lingering over me. Sometimes, life comes with a debt, and that debt is far too costly. Years passed, and I convinced myself the voice had been a hallucination. But on my 30th birthday, it came back. I was blowing out candles, surrounded by laughter, when the world suddenly went silent. No clinking glasses, no music, just an oppressive void. Then I heard it again. "It's time to pay." I froze in fear. That was just the beginning. From that day forward, strange things started happening. Shadows appeared at the corners of my vision, moving in unnatural ways. Mirrors no longer reflected just me. They showed faces and hands that didn't belong to me. Then came the whispers, not just noise, but my name, repeated over and over in a low guttural chant. One night, I woke up to find my reflection staring back at me, even though I wasn't standing in front of the mirror. You can't run from the deal. Last night, I saw it clearly. It was standing at the foot of my bed tall, with glowing red eyes and an unnerving, twisted grin. I tried to scream, but it raised a skeletal finger to its lips, commanding me to stay silent. Cold fear coursed through me. Today, I am writing this, knowing my end is near. I can feel it now, standing behind me, watching with that same patient, demonic grin. Never make a deal with death, because it might let you live, but you won't truly be alive. Will you remember this lesson? Which of the stories did you like? Share your opinion in the comments. And for more terrifying stories, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.